All right, guys, welcome to the Sports Kings NFL Free Agency Show. And I know it's been a while since the three of us have talked football, and that's what, since Super Bowl 60. But anyway, we are back. And this time of the year, Dustin, Jacob, we get excited because this is the free agency period. This is where free agents become members of another football team. Some will sign with their other football teams. But look, the new league year began today, all right, at 4 p.m., which means free agents could officially be signed. Okay. All of the hype and everything that happened on Monday was just hype, right? Nothing became official until 4 p.m. today. And this all coincides with the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, which will be April 23rd on ESPN. So, look, guys, just what I said here, Dustin, Jacob, free agency signings is a major indication of what NFL teams will likely do in the NFL draft. So, guys, you guys, Dustin, first of all, man, let me just go ahead. Hey, Jacob, Adam Scheffler, all of those guys, they don't have nothing on Dustin Pfeiffer. Because I tell you what, Dustin started blowing our telephones up like 4 a.m. Monday morning. Like, what the hell? Did he even sleep Sunday night?
Hey, listen. I got a bone to pick with Jacob real quick, Gene. Because listen, I know we've had a little bit of a break since the Super Bowl. Where we've been on a little bit of vacation. Everybody gets a break, right? But you and I have been back. We've been working basketball. We've been doing other stuff. Where the hell has Jacob Meadows been?
I don't know basketball well enough to commentate it. I gave you a nugget before the show, right? I love what your team has done in free agency.
Okay.
I said I would join y'all's basketball show, and y'all never sent me an invite. I could have been comedic humor, right? But no, just nothing. Nothing came my way.
No, you're
That's
right, Gene.
Hey, you can blame that on me.
Okay.
Because when Jacob tells me he knows nothing about basketball, I take him for his word. I just say, okay, we're not even gonna go there. But he does send out his little text messages. He knows the Rockets. Okay, come on now, Jacob.
Yeah, I know the
Rockets, right?
I had to give him a hard time. I'm glad we're all back together, and you're right. Well, listen, Gene, I try just because we are in the media business, and again, me sending this stuff out, I don't want to act like I'm doing anything crazy. I'm sending it out from the sources, from the Schefters and the Rappaports and all this. But these times of years, whether it's the NBA trade deadline, NFL free agency, the draft, we got to be locked in on this stuff. So anytime I see something coming through, I've got to get it out to all the sports kings so we can start talking about it.
It's a big deal for me. I try to beat you on all the football ones.
Great stuff, Dustin. And look, man, let's go ahead and the way we're going to do this free agency, because this was just huge. I don't know, maybe some 75 to 100 names were thrown out there, but we're going to try to talk about some of the bigger names that were thrown out there. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll talk about some more here leading up into the draft. But we're going to do this by position, and we'll talk about the player, we'll talk about the money, the new team, the old team, this, that, and the other. But guys, before we even get into the free agency, how about we talk about the big news here? Because this actually a trade took place before free agency even started, and that was between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens, and a deal that actually sent Max Crosby over to the Baltimore Ravens. This was a blockbuster trade, and for some reason here, I think the Raiders had agreed to trade Crosby to the Ravens in exchange for a pair of first-round picks. However, that deal fell apart on Tuesday when Crosby underwent knee surgery in January, and reportedly failed his physical upon reporting to Baltimore. So look, this is not new. We've heard of this before in other sports, right? But this is huge. So the Ravens get out of this deal somehow. The general manager, Eric DaCosta, decides to nix this deal. So now Max Crosby is back with the Raiders. And Dustin, it's basically what the Ravens have done since then that is just really has everyone talking.
Yeah, listen, to me, I mean, you're looking from the outside in. It doesn't look great to me the way the Baltimore Ravens handle business. And I know every team, when they do a trade, has their right to examine a player, the physical, whatever it may be, to make sure they're getting what they expect to get. Now, with that being said, everybody in the planet knows that Max Crosby is coming off of an injury. He's had a meniscus injury, he had surgery on it, and he's recovering. And by all accounts from hearing from his doctors and everybody else, he's on track or ahead of schedule. So could they have saw something else in the physical? Absolutely. But in my eyes, when you back out like this, and again, it wasn't backing out like a few hours after, a day after. It was like multiple days, maybe a week after this trade has happened. You let a week go by, free agency starts. Teams who were interested in Max Crosby have pivoted somewhere else because they need to spend their money. They can't wait around. And then you go back on it. And then to add the icing on the cake, you immediately go and sign the other best pass rusher on the market in free agency in Trey Hendrickson. It kind of makes me think like, oh, wait, we realized because if you, and I know this is long-winded, but if you look at the stories, it took a couple of days for Trey Hendrickson to sign because Schefter said originally the market was not as high as Trey Hendrickson thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So the Ravens are probably sitting there going, oh, wait a minute. We could actually get Trey Hendrickson around the same price or a little lower and still save our 2 first-round picks that we sent to Las Vegas. So to me, that's kind of bad business in my eyes. Like, you can't sit there and make a deal with a team and agree in principle, and I know it has to go through and be final. I just think it's bad business, and from what we've seen around the league, I think some people are very skeptical about how Baltimore handled this. I think one scout or GM said that it was complete BS by the Ravens. And so we'll move on and we'll get over it, and Trey Hendrickson will be a Raven, and it's a great signing. But I just have to think that this is not a great look for the Baltimore Ravens.
But Jacob, according to DaCosta, he revealed to the media that Baltimore's initial plan was to sign Hendrickson with
That's
Cross.
Complete BS.
It's smoke and mirrors. Yeah, DaCosta's saving face here. I mean, it like Dustin, everything Dustin said, I agree with. I think that the Ravens fumbled the bag here. They got cold feet. You know, there was a report that came out earlier today. I think it was Schefter. It was on Twitter. But it said that the Ravens thought that Crosby went under a minor knee surgery and not a full meniscus repair, or a meniscus trim versus a meniscus repair, which takes your recovery time from weeks to months. Crosby had the months one, but like Dustin said, he's ahead of schedule. They knew what they were getting themselves into with this. And just like Dustin said, I think that they got cold feet. They realized they could sign Trey Hendrickson without sacrificing 2 first-round picks, 2 early second-round picks, more or less. But they can save those picks. They got Trey Hendrickson for a little less. You know, Hendrickson wanted $30 million a year, and he ended up getting 29 and some change or whatever that breaks out to. And it just, I think that the Ravens scared themselves out of it, and now they're playing PR, trying to save a little face around the league. And I do think it's all BS. And
I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
Now listen, hold on. One caveat, though. It's not 2 early second round picks. That first round pick was going to be 14th overall going to Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because the Ravens did not make the playoffs. So that pick they were sending this year was going to be a top 15 pick in the NFL draft for the Las Vegas Raiders. And one last thing, G, before you give your thoughts, not only do you take those picks back, the Raiders all of a sudden thought they had number 1 and number 14 in the draft. Could you imagine and having 2 top 15 picks? And on top of that, they went out and spent all of this money in free agency that they had on great signings. I think they made some great moves because they thought they had the cap space because Max Crosby was gone. Now he comes back and you got to counter his $30 million cap hit under the cap until they figure out what they're going to do with them. It's the Raiders come out like they got screwed in this. They completely got screwed in this.
They did. And they didn't. I mean, look, I understand. I mean, Baltimore screwed up, and I think DaCosta is blowing smoke out of his. You know what? But I think the Raiders are still in a good position, guys, because they still have good cap space, and we'll talk about what they did do in free agency. But I think one of the bigger questions is, okay, what do you do with Max Crosby now? Look, now the guy knows that you tried to trade him. He basically is stuck on that team, maybe for a while. He might be stuck on that team until, who knows, like right up to the preseason, because right now it's all about, well, let's make sure that, he heals no one is going to want him now after Baltimore has really put the Raiders in a bad position. But I think the Raiders are going to be okay. They got themselves a hell of a quarterback coming. They got the #1 draft pick coming, the Heisman Trophy, and a national champion coming to the team. And then they still got a lot of money, although they just gave some of that money to the new guy, to the center that they signed. But anyway, I think they're going to be okay. But no, it's a slap in the face, and Baltimore is probably going to be looked at as a team that people are going to think twice about dealing with them. But I think
and they're going to be. You're right. They're going to be okay. I think the Raiders have actually made some good moves in free agency. But to the Max Crosby thing, and Gene, we saw this with the Lakers and the Hornets, are two teams that did a trade and then it fell through.
Right.
As much as Las Vegas loves Max and the fans, I know Wayne Brown said, hey, maybe we can keep him now. Once you go down that road to trade a guy, there's no going back. The relationship is completely different. It's done. There's no salvaging that. And eventually they're going to have to find another trading spot for Max Crosby. But where the Raiders get screwed now is when you trade Max Crosby, the Ravens have completely crushed his trade value because now everyone's going to wonder about his health.
That's true. So that's why I think time literally works in his favor because he will heal. And I think we're going to see a move maybe just right before the season. So we'll look at that. Okay.
And there's no way in hell the Ravens were going to pay $30 million each for multiple passes.
No. There's no way.
Out of here with that mess.
And look now, and don't get me wrong, guys, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I am more than happy to know that Max Crosby is not going to be facing my team twice a year. And even though Trey Hendrickson, I'm already used to him playing against,
he's older though. He's older.
Yeah, and he's older. So that's going to be interesting. All right, let's go ahead and break down the 2026 NFL free agency landscape here, guys, by position. So look, the quarterbacks, we're going to start with the quarterbacks, guys. And I tell you what, this one, oh, wow. Malik Willis now is going to be a Miami Dolphin. He reported to be signing a significant deal to start with Miami. Dustin, do you have the numbers on that? Because I know that he did sign with them, but this, of course, was after the Dolphins decided to go ahead and release Tua Tagovailoa. So, Jacob, is this a good move for the Miami Dolphins to pick up Malik Willis, who was a backup quarterback for Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers? And of course, he was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, didn't really get on the field in Tennessee, showed some great signs of being a good elite quarterback with Green Bay. Now he's the man in Miami.
To give you the numbers for Jacob before he goes, 3 years, $67.5 million with $45 million in guaranteed money.
Wow.
I've got every contract number written down for every major player. So if we need to pull something out of a hat, I've got them all listed. But yeah, I like Malik to Miami. I thought it was a good move. I don't think that Miami's this juggernaut with him, right? He's a bridge quarterback, probably. I like Malik Willis. I loved him more in Tennessee because he sucked, and they're in the same division as the Texans. But I think Malik showed a lot of promise in Green Bay. I think that system crafted him into a much better quarterback. He can go through his progressions a lot better. His leg work is incredible, right? He is very athletic. He's very good at – he doesn't run first, to preface this. He does not run first. He is a passing quarterback with scrambling abilities. And I think he's going to make the Miami Dolphins better. He signed the contract, which Miami's not paying him any money in year one. It's backloaded on years 2 and 3, which is great for Miami coming off of the Tua contract. And it's good. It elevates the Miami offense. I think that the Miami offense will be better than they were last year, assuming that their OC or whomever is calling plays is competent. So, yeah, I'm all on board with the Malik Willis signing.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, you obviously had to move on from Tua. That wasn't working. We knew that was going to happen. The one thing that is good for Malik Willis is that they have the Green Bay defensive coordinator down there now, and they've got a lot of people from Green Bay down there with Miami now. So he's got the familiarity with them. He showed some flashes last year, obviously, with Jordan Love out. He was one of the better backups in the game, probably. But the one downside is, guys, he's had 6 career NFL starts. So you're paying more on the hope, the potential, and the upside that he can continue to find it consistently as a starter. But that's risky business giving a guy $45 million guaranteed and $67.5 million when he's only started 6 games across 4 seasons. I mean, we're not talking about like a guy who had a really good year as a starter, a complete year. We're talking about a guy who's got 6 starts in 4 years. So that's got to be a little worrisome, but I'm not sure what other options Miami really had to go when it comes to a quarterback this year. So I don't hate the move that they went younger and hopefully with potential upside in Malik Willis.
Well, they could be looking at the success of Minnesota's coach quarterback combination, the Seattle Seahawks coach quarterback combination. You're starting to see a new coach and a new quarterback get together and make it work. Yeah. You saw that with Chicago with their quarterback and their coach. So maybe who is it? Jeff Hafley is going to be the new coach there in Miami. So we shall see. There are some weapons there. We haven't talked about Tyreek Hill and where he's going to go. But, I mean, look, I would say that Malik Willis has earned this. I know a lot of teams wanted him. And so this should be good. So Tua Tagovailoa now is a member of the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sorry. Wow. I'm watching an NBA game.
He could play NBA maybe. Who knows?
Well, he probably should be playing in the NBA. So he's with the Falcons now. That move right there, I don't know about that one. I'm on the fence with that. Dustin, I was mighty upset that Atlanta even decided to make a move. They fired their coach. He's with Kevin Stefanski, who in my opinion is a quarterback's killer. We saw how he mishandled things in Cleveland. Now Tua's future is in the hands of Kevin Stefanski.
See, I actually disagree with you a little bit. I actually like Kevin Stefanski, and I think he does a decent job. It was the fact that they never gave him a good quarterback to do anything with. I mean, you're talking Deshaun Watson, who was terrible in Cleveland, and then you had all the rookies and Joe Flacco, and like he never had a set guy. With that being said, Gene, he's running into the same issues down here in Atlanta. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm not saying this because I'm here in Charlotte and I'm a Panthers fan and cover the Panthers, but when I saw the Falcons sign Tua Tagovailoa, I kind of just laughed and said, well, there's the Atlanta Falcons being the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not really worried about them next year because you just cut Kirk Cousins, who was injury prone. You've got Michael Penix, who is injury prone. And now you bring in Tua Tagovailoa, who is injury prone. I don't really get that QB room in Atlanta. And again, I'm not going to blame Kevin Stefanski. This is not a good QB room. I think Michael Penix showed last year that we're not sure if he's a starter. And now Tua, the way he's been playing, I'm not sure what Atlanta's really doing. Maybe they're just going to hand the ball off to Bijan every single play of the game. Unless they make some more moves, I don't understand the quarterback room for the Atlanta Falcons.
I love your thoughts on that.
Tua signed a 1-year, $1.3 million contract with Atlanta.
Miami's paying all of his money. That's the one thing. So
even if it doesn't pan out, I think Atlanta's take on this is who cares. But I do think so. If the Penix project doesn't work, right? I like Penix at Washington. However, if the Penix project does not work, which he was very hot and cold last year, if it doesn't work, if he can't come back from injury, I think Tua gives them arguably the best starter that they may have had in the last couple of years. I'm not a lot. It does. And I'm not going to say that I've been a Captain Kirk fan since he came into the league behind RG3. However, Captain Kirk was not at the best game that he has ever played there in Atlanta. And I think Tua's still good. So long as Tua doesn't scramble his brains, right? Tua gives you a very efficient passer, somebody who's not going to make all the boneheaded mistakes. Admittedly, I've watched a lot of Miami games. He made a lot of them. But I think that Atlanta has the weapons to support Tua. Tua could revitalize his career in Atlanta. And I think that there is a better chance that he revitalizes his career and earns a contract somewhere else than the opposite happening, where Tua tanks, he's terrible. Penix comes in, he's terrible. And then Atlanta's just a dumpster fire. I think Atlanta's going to push for number 2 in that division this year with Tua at quarterback. I think their reports are saying Penix will be back for camp. I think that's smoke. And I think we'll see Tua in the preseason. He'll show out. Penix will play 1 or 2 games, do poorly. And I think Tua starts for most of the season while Penix sits and learns. And
well, let's see. Let
me say this before you give your thoughts, Gene. I'll give Jacob a point there on the board for a good call out about it only being 1.1 million. So the Falcons don't lose a lot. And I do think he could be serviceable. I guess as a fan of the division, I just sit back and go, he doesn't scare me though. But what I was going to say, Gene, before you give your thoughts, the reason he can do that one year, $1.3 million deal, and this is insane, in 2026, the Miami Dolphins will be paying Tua $54 million to not be on the team.
Yeah.
Good for
dead money. That's a lot. That is a lot. That's a lot. And look, I don't know. I like Tua also, guys, and I think he does have, Pitts, and he's got Drake London. So
wait a minute, are you Mean Gene actually using Kyle Pitts as a positive?
Yeah, I'm calling out Kyle Pitts
as a positive.
Hey, that's an indication that I might be taking him in fantasy this year. But look, no, I'm gonna say Tua is walking into a good situation. It depends on Kevin Stefanski and how he manages this, because we all thought Mike McDaniel was this so-called offensive, minded expert, and that didn't really develop. So Stefanski is going to have to be the one that really turns things around for him. And Jacob, to your point, Tua is going to have to, really want to turn it around himself. So maybe a change of venue might make that happen. So look, okay, another quarterback, guys.
Somebody check what's in Gene's cup, because he just said Kyle Pitts might be a positive.
I think that Tua fits Stefanski's scheme better than he fit McDaniel's scheme, and I think that is going to be evident.
We should see.
Dustin, we might hear me and Gene say that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback in Pittsburgh.
No, Lord, no.
If we hear that, we definitely got to check the cup.
Ever hear me and Gene say that? All right. And here's something else we would never hear me and Gene say, that Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Geno Smith is going to be returning back to the scene of the crime, and that would be New York. The Raiders did release him, okay? And they're going to free up $8 million as a result of that. So me and my cousin, we talked about this today, because he thinks that Geno Smith is still a good quarterback. He thinks that the failures of last year were due to the offensive line, no help whatsoever. But Geno Smith is a bad quarterback. And I don't know what the Jets are doing. I don't know if Aaron Glenn wants to be a coach in the NFL for a long time, because right now that team sucks. There's nothing good to be said about the Jets. I don't know what they're going to do in the draft, but you cannot tell me that the New York fans are really excited to have Geno Smith back in New York.
Well, just to be clear, it wasn't a cut. It was actually a trade. They traded them to New York. They traded Geno Smith and a 7th rounder to the Jets for a 6th rounder. I have to wonder, as soon as Geno saw that come across his phone, did he get a little PTSD and was like, oh my God, I'm going back to the New York Jets? Because if you remember, everybody thought his career was pretty much over when he was with the New York Jets. So we'll see. It's a different coach, different regime. Obviously, he probably has some respect for Aaron Glenn, but you're right, Gene. I'm not sure the direction that they're going in. Now the room is Geno Smith and Justin Fields, and obviously we know Justin Fields was a complete flop last year. So that will, I expect, be – I don't think anybody is going to be named the starter real soon. I think that's going to be a flat-out competition, but I don't think either one of those guys can elevate the Jets to start improving. Like, Geno's that type of guy who has to be on a great team around him where he doesn't have to do a whole lot. Going to the Jets is not that. So, yeah,
and
the Jets
still have Justin Fields on the roster as well.
They do, and it's going to be a competition.
What kind of a competition? You know what? Me and Jacob can go out there and be part of this.
Is Tyrod Taylor still there as well?
Tyrod's gone. He's in Arizona, right?
He's in Arizona now, right?
Yeah. So it'll be a competition. Yeah.
Every player. Go ahead, Gene.
One last quarterback, guys. Jacoby Brissett. I think he's going to go back with the Patriots to be sort of a veteran presence for Drake May.
The old trusty veteran.
All right, guys, let's take it to the wide receivers, okay? Big one right here. The Indianapolis Colts re-signed Alex Pierce. I know, Jacob, you got the numbers. Well, actually, I got the numbers. He re-signed with Indianapolis on a massive 4-year, $114 million extension after leading the league in yards per catch. So this is really big. And I guess we can also throw in the quarterback option here too, because I think they did re-sign or extended Danny Dimes, right, for 2 years for $88 million. Am I correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Indiana Jones,
baby. It was a good signing. He played really well before the injury. The Achilles is a tough injury to come back from, but if Danny Dimes returns at even 80% of what he was doing prior to destroying his body, the Colts are in a good position. And it takes a lot for me to admit that.
I agree.
The South. But Danny, he was playing out of his mind. The Giants ruined him. He went to the Colts. He played well here in the contract. Let's just hope he actually comes back, because Riley Leonard probably won't play. An injured Daniel Jones is better than a healthy Riley Leonard.
Well, let me just
keeping
say
it with the Indianapolis
hold on.
Colts.
Let me just say this real quick, Gene, because I'm looking this up right now. I like Alec Pierce a lot, and he's a speed guy and catches a lot of long passes. 4 years, $116 million is a lot for a guy who only has 1,000-yard receiving season in his career. Now, it was last season, but in that 1,000 yards, he only had 47 catches. The main guy kind of was Pittman and these other guys like that, who's Pittman's down in Pittsburgh that we'll talk about. So I know they wanted to keep their guy, but that's a huge investment in a wide receiver who doesn't have a huge track history.
Correct.
You know what, Dustin? I thought the same thing, because, look, when I found out that the Pittsburgh Steelers extended, well, first of all, they signed and they offered an extension to Michael Pittman Jr., 3-year extension, $59 million. I was like, whoa, because I also agree. I just thought Michael Pittman Jr. was the better receiver. Now, depending on who was throwing who the ball, Pierce did have big games, but Pittman Jr., in my opinion, I just thought he was the better wide receiver. So I'm glad he's with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And believe it or not, now his wife said, I guess a month ago, she had a dream that he was going to be wearing the black and gold. So what a dream come true for him. But guys, one of the biggest stories of the free agency period was Mike Evans, a long-time Tampa Bay Buccaneer, is now with the San Francisco 49ers. Not only, look, he's not even wearing number 13 anymore, okay? He's changing his numbers, and he's going to the San Francisco 49ers. I was floored when I heard that news, Dustin.
Hey, listen, I'm sitting here over here. We talked about it before we came on the air. I'm so ecstatic about what the Panthers are doing. But one of the signings I was probably the most happy about in all of NFL free agency was Mike Evans leaving the division. And I know that he's older and he's been a little banged up, but we're talking about a guy before this last season has had 1,000 yards every single time in his career as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I believe the most touchdowns in his career he caught against the Carolina Panthers. So if you're telling me, I know they've got Godwin and some young guys at Ibuka, but you're telling me they take this guy to the division. That's a win for every team in that division. And it's tough because you got a guy like that you think is going to be a one jersey guy his whole career. He's built a legacy there, and stuff changes. He said he wanted something. It wasn't really about the money. He just wanted to try a different challenge. And, listen, the 49ers desperately need it. Juwan Jennings is a free agent. They just released Brandon Ayuk. Really, the only guy they got is Pearsall to go along with Kittle, who's coming back from an injury. So they desperately needed somebody else on offense so Christian McCaffrey doesn't have to do everything. So I like the signing for San Francisco. We all know that Kyle Shanahan is going to scheme him in the red zone to get open, and it's going to help Brock Purdy. So that's a big signing for San Francisco. And I know he's on the downside, but that's a huge loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Jacob, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, one of many big losses for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought the San Francisco 49ers were a good landing spot for Mike Evans. In the group text, I made a joke about them having a Hall of Fame injured reserve list because Christian McCaffrey's been hurt a bunch of times. Mike Evans was hurt the last year and a half or so, off and on, but hurt. And then you have, Kittle and Pearsall gets shot, and that other guy gets shot. And, the 49ers just have a lot of injury issues. But at the end of the day, Mike Evans gives them the best weapon at wide receiver that was on the market, mathematically speaking. And just to shout it out, Wheels 2025, we are going by position. So we will get to the Osa trade. It was a good trade, but we will get there. But yeah, I like Mike Evans to the Niners.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one too. What a nice guy. Mike Evans had a chance to talk with him that Super Bowl year when the Buccaneers and Brady defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. Just a good guy. You know, he played his football here in Texas Tech there. So it's just weird that he's going to be. There's got to be more to this. I don't know his relationship with Todd Bowles or anything like that, but man, I didn't see this one coming at all. So anyway, he's with the 49ers. Romeo Dobbs, formerly with the Packers, he's now with the Patriots. He inked a 4-year deal with New England. Stephon Diggs was set to be released. I don't know if he was released already, but I think he's set to be released. Rashid Shaheed, Seahawks, he re-signed a 3-year deal.
Stud.
And George Pickens, I guess, is one of those names everyone was wanting to hear about. So I think that the Cowboys did put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. So Dustin, I mean, look, that tag is not bad. I think, look, you know, the amount of money he made on that rookie contract was totaled at $6, $7, $8 million, something like that. So the 27.5 million or something like that is nothing to be upset about. But I think Pickens was looking for something in the ballpark of 4 years, 160, which I didn't see that one coming, especially with the Cowboys paying CeeDee Lamb a big time contract. But at some point in time, the Cowboys will have to address this deal with George Pickens. And so he's basically going to have to go out and do what he did last year. He's going to have to do it again.
Well, that's the whole point, I think. And I actually think this is a smart move by Dallas. I think George Pickens is one of those guys, and Gene, you've seen it with his time in Pittsburgh. Like, if you go ahead and pay him and give him the money, there's a chance that he kind of just says, oh, I got paid and I'm good to go. Now, if you franchise tag him, he has to go out there. And again, it's not fair for some guys. He balled out last year. He's probably earned a payday. But now he's got to go out there and do it again if he wants to get his money. He can't sit back. And we've kind of seen some up and down play in Pittsburgh from George Pickens, and he had a big year last year. Now, can he replicate it? Now, if he goes out there and does it again and plays at the level he did last year, then the Cowboys got to seriously think about locking him up. But if he doesn't, then you have a chance to say, hey, we gave it a chance and it doesn't work out. So I think it's a smart move by the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll see what happens. And some of these receivers are getting paid. I know that the Patriots released Stephon Diggs and they needed a receiver. And I like Romeo Dobbs. I was actually considering him possibly for the Panthers, but I wasn't considering him at 4 years, possibly $80 million. That's another big contract. These guys are getting paid, and if you watch Romeo Dobbs with Jordan Love, he's a very good target, but he also was up and down. So some of these guys are going to have to go out here and prove it on these deals, and it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Hey, guys, let's go ahead and address some of the comments here before we move on to the running backs here. So Vikings, Jerome there, 24-38. Kyle Murray to the Vikings, perhaps. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that.
Yep,
yeah, go ahead, Jacob. Yeah, what do you think about it?
90%. He's the best quarterback left on the market unless they go back to Captain
Who starts?
So it depends, right? I'd like to see Kirk go back to Minnesota. Watching him bang the drum shirtless, it was a core memory of mine, right? I liked him there. Kyler's the best quarterback available. Kyler starts. I think Kyler starts no problem if Kyler
So before we came on the air, it said that the Raiders were actually interested in Kirk Cousins. So maybe he could be like a mentor to Mendoza. Murray, I think, would be a good fit in Minnesota. Only because, again, that's how high I think of O'Connell. Like, the guy is the best, to me, probably the best offensive mind in the league. You got Justin Jefferson still with Kyler Murray's legs. He obviously has to stay healthy. But I just wonder, Gene, I want to get your thoughts. Like, if he gets a contract, he's going to be one of those guys, again, who are going to be getting paid by Arizona because they're going to cut him with all this dead money. So it's going to be a cheap contract. It's got to be an open competition, right? I don't think you can just say, Kyler, you're the starter. I think him and J.J. McCarthy got to go in there and battle it out.
Yeah, believe it or not, I kind of like what I saw in J.J. McCarthy towards the end, maybe a game or two, where it shows that he wants to be the quarterback. I mean, I know it was a big disappointment, but when you see other quarterback names being thrown around, I think this quarterback competition is going to be a whole lot interesting. And I think it's going to be a win-win for Minnesota either way. And if you got both of them there, I don't think you can go wrong with having Kyler Murray there. So I think it'll be an interesting. And then you got Kevin O'Connell, who's there to make it happen there. So what about Jacob? I think you had talked about this Osa. I cannot say this guy's last name. So what's with that trade to the 49ers?
Don't even try. Yeah, it's a nightmare of a name. He is a very good player. Dallas did trade him. The third-round pick was good compensation from the Niners, I think, and I think he improved the 49ers interior D-line. Just to shout out Wheels 2025. If you're a Dallas fan, you should actually be a little sad about that one. He was one of the best players on Dallas's defense. Admittedly, a bad defense. But he's good. He is good, and pairing him with the new guys, they brought in Rashawn Gary, who I'm sure we'll talk about here in a bit. And they have Kenny Clark also from Green Bay. Osa could have been good, especially the more talent you have on the D-line, the more, pressure is taken off each individual and they're allowed to do their own thing. And, blitz packages are easier and penetration is easier. So losing Osa is going to be a blow for Dallas unless they pull something crazy in the draft, which I doubt. So good trade. He improves the 49ers interior D-line.
Okay, guys, let's get into running backs here because I tell you what, this one and Jacob, Dustin, this has only happened like 4 times. This will make the 4th time that a reigning Super Bowl MVP went to another team the next year. And Jacob, I'm gonna throw some trivia at you because we like to throw trivia at you, Jacob.
Because I suck at it.
No, because
I got your back, Jacob. I'll be your lifeline.
Thanks, Dustin. I'm going to get
this one, Jacob. So Kenneth Walker III, we saw what he did in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. So he was your Super Bowl MVP. And look, this was no secret. I am not shocked that Kenneth Walker is no longer with the Seattle Seahawks because he has probably been one of the most disrespected players on his own team. Look here, if it wasn't for Charbonnet getting hurt, Kenneth Walker probably would not have been your Super Bowl MVP. I mean, it was just one of those guys that the Seahawks just never really valued that high. Anyway, he just had a great game, and it just happened to be the Super Bowl. So I'm not shocked. But Jacob, before Kenneth Walker, who is now a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. So the old saying, somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure. So the Chiefs are definitely going to treasure him. But who was the last Super Bowl MVP to leave his team and go to another team? Who was the last?
I'm gonna preface my answer because nobody's gonna like my answer, but K9 should have been Super Bowl MVP. Shout out Jason Myers. Also, I need my lifeline, Dustin. I told you I'd need this immediately.
I don't know if this is the lifeline to go to. Can you give me has it been recent?
It was in 2000 and okay. The last player that he was in the NFC South.
Oh, I should.
And it was a running back.
Wow, I should know this. I'm going to say NFC South. It's either the last one to win a Super Bowl. It's either got to be got to be Tampa or it's got to be New Orleans.
Tampa's correct.
Tampa's correct. So I'm going to say, what was the running back that won Super Bowl MVP, Jacob? See, I'm helping you out here.
Oh yeah, thanks, Dustin. That was a lot.
I gave you the team. I said Tampa.
I was at this Super Bowl, guys. I sat there and watched this guy have a record day against the Oakland Raiders.
I was like 9 years old when the Super Bowl was played.
It wasn't Jackson. Okay, all right.
Dexter Jackson. Now, Dexter Jackson was number 2. How about Desmond Howard? So Dexter Jackson was the MVP. The next year, he ended up playing with the Cardinals. Desmond Howard was also a Super Bowl MVP with the Packers. He ended up going to the Raiders. And then how about this one? Larry Brown was a Super Bowl MVP with the Dallas Cowboys. He ended up going with the Raiders the following year. So Kenneth Walker III makes the 4th player to actually win the Super Bowl MVP and go and join a new team. So
listen.
Dustin, your thoughts on this? I mean, did you see this one coming?
I didn't see it coming, but I like the move. And again, the Chiefs are kind of in limbo because of Mahomes' injury and things like that. But we've said it for the last 2 or 3 years, even when they were good before they fell off this year. They need a run game. And, they had one burst of Pacheco a couple years ago, but it wasn't consistent enough. Clyde Edwards-Helaire never panned out. They brought back Kareem Hunt, and he had a flash here and there. But they need an every down back. And the older Mahomes gets and some of these weapons around him, like, you need to start running the ball a little more. And I think Kenneth Walker will help that. Now, do we know how Kansas City will be next year? No, because we don't know about Mahomes, and they have lost some guys on defense as well. But this helps their offense, and I think they need to go to a more run game, not heavy, but they got to have a running back that can be out there for 3 downs. They didn't have that, and I think they have that in Kenneth Walker if he stays healthy. So I like the addition to Kansas City.
Best dual threat back in the league. He and ETN. K9 is the better one. He's the best back that the Chiefs have had since Priest Holmes.
Well, not best. Hold on, not best dual threat because that's reserved for Christian McCaffrey. Let's be honest.
Okay, yeah. CMC. Okay. So top 3. Right. Yeah, I'll give you that. But yeah,
I like.
So Jacob, were you shocked, Jacob? Because I mean, you were not really high on Kenneth Walker this entire year.
Well, so I like Kenneth Walker, but he can be inconsistent. I like K9. I thought he was a good running back. I thought that offsetting him with Charbonnet is the only reason he was healthy all year. I think that as a 3-down back, I think K9 is absolutely vulnerable to injury, right? He is very, very good at his craft. He is one of the top 3 pass catching running backs. He's electric on the field. He's a great runner. He's a hard runner, but because of his violent run style, same thing that happened with Pacheco, Kenneth Walker has been hurt quite a few times. So I mean,
Jacob already thinks the Chiefs are going to be the worst team in the league next year. So
I don't think that. I just think they're bottom 10.
Okay.
They're not winning their division. I'll give you that. I already got that right.
But you're dancing on their grave just a little early, I think.
Will's 2025 wants to know how teams are going to. It's happened before. Not too many teams. I think the Texans and the Dolphins had a trade in 2022. Where I think the Texans was trying to acquire a tight end, Adam Shahan. You remember him, Jacob?
Yeah, I do.
I think he failed the physical.
Shahan.
And I think before then, the Vikings and the Raiders, the Vikings called off a trade for a defensive tackle after he failed the physical. It's always because of a physical. So that's usually when that's going to happen. So it seems like it's happened maybe four or 5 times. So guys, another trade that took place there. So we talked about Kenneth Walker going to the Kansas City Chiefs. How about Isaiah Pacheco now reportedly signing in Detroit to replace David Montgomery, which we didn't really talk about there, Jacob, because David Montgomery was part of a trade that sent him to the Houston Texans, breaking up that backfield of him and what's the other running back's name there, Dustin?
Woody Marks. Oh wait, where?
For what?
What's our guy in Detroit?
Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs
for the line. So we had the double running back.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs. So they break up that duo, Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, which I thought was a hell of a duo. So now you got Pacheco and Gibbs, which I think they both are the same type of a running back. But what do you think about that, Jacob? Pacheco going to Detroit.
I think them moving Gibbs to a more bell cow back. That's the only reason for this. They were wasting Montgomery. Gibbs is the best running back in the league. You can say CMC, you can try to correct me on that. Jahmyr Gibbs the best running back in the NFL, or coming out of last year. I will die on that grave. So I think that this was just to give him somebody behind him. They were able to get comp for David Montgomery, which the Texans were happy to trade for. But I think Pacheco is going to genuinely be an RB2. He'll get, 5 to 7 snaps a game max, and Pacheco's good for shorter yardage. And I think this is going to he lost a step after his injuries in Kansas City. He wasn't the explosive guy that he once was.
He did.
Yeah, he's not as violent of a runner. So I think that this is Detroit getting a very, very useful running back to put behind Jahmyr Gibbs, who, if you play fantasy football, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
They better feed the hell out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Like Pacheco's a good backup running back, but they didn't use Gibbs enough at the end of last season at all. And like you said, he's one of the best backs in the league. He's one of the fastest backs in the league, dual threat. Like they've gotta center the offense around him more, and I think they will do that this year.
But Montgomery was healthy, and that's one reason why they used him. I just like the 1-2 punch.
It's a good combo.
I don't see that 1-2 punch in Pacheco and Gibbs, though. I don't see the same. So I see a little drop off there, especially when Pacheco is not as healthy as Montgomery was. So we'll see how that goes. But nevertheless, there's a change up there, and we'll see how it's going to work out. Now, big news out of the AFC South and how this is going to impact the Texans now, Jacob, is that Travis Etienne Jr. has left the Jaguars, and he's returning to Louisiana, the state where he played his college football. He signed a 4-year deal with the New Orleans Saints, which pretty much tells us that's the end of
Kamara.
Kamara. So what do you think about that deal, Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's the NFC South. It's a good addition for the Saints, though. I know what Jacob's going to say. He's very high on the Saints. I think with Tyler Shuck and now ETN, I think they still got a little bit of building to go. But this is a good piece, like you said, a dual threat guy who can catch passes, who can run the football. It's a good signing. Kamara has been injury prone. Is getting on the older side. I think he could be a guy maybe that goes somewhere else and can kind of help the 1-2 punch like you talked about. Maybe with not as many snaps in a game. So it's a good signing, and to me it's a pretty big loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm right there with Dustin on that one. And watch out for ETN, or not ETN. Watch out for Kamara to the Titans. I could see that. The Titans are kind of running back needy. I could see Kamara going there. And ETN's going to be good for New Orleans. He was a great back for Jacksonville. You saw the Twitter post from Trevor Lawrence. He was sad. It was 8 years together. And ETN is a very good running back. He's a younger Kamara. He's got the same skill set that Kamara had 4 years ago. Yeah. It's a plug and play. It's the same player. And ETN's very good. The Shug Show will go on, and ETN will be very good in New Orleans.
And he will complement that quarterback, which they eventually got around to starting the guy who I felt they should have started all along. Yeah. So I think New Orleans is going to look a whole lot better going into this season. So we're not going to go over all of the linemen. Dustin, I know. Well,
hang on, real quick before we go to the linemen. Real quick before we go there, let's mention. Let's mention one more running back call out, Gene. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers picking up Rico Dowdle?
Number one on my board for running back impactfulness.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that one up. That one's good. Well, they didn't have a choice because
they lost Gainwell. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't even see that one coming. But give it up to Omar Khan for being able to quickly get Dowdle, who I think is one of the most disrespected running backs in all of football. And I think that's a good move. I think him and Warren in the backfield, I think that's pretty. I think that's going to be pretty good. So I think Pittsburgh did, pretty good in free agency. So we'll see what happens in the draft. But how about your guy, Jalen Phillips? This guy, oh my goodness! So the Philadelphia Eagles let him just walk out of there. He gets a $120 million deal in Carolina. So man, I know the Panther fans have got to be excited.
Yeah, it's a big signing. If you've watched Panthers football, which I know y'all keep up with it because of me, they have been bottom league of the sacks here the last couple of years. They need a impactful edge rusher. They drafted 2 last season, and actually Nick Swartzen, their second round pick, has turned out to be one of the starters. He had a great rookie season, so he'll be on the other side. So you partner Nick Swartzen going into year 2. And you partner Derek Brown, and you partner Jalen Phillips. I mean, that's a pretty strong defensive line in a 3-4. And Jalen Phillips is coming to Ejiro Avero's system, which is a Vic Fangio system that he excelled in Philadelphia and in Miami. So The one thing, that you can question is 4 years, $120 million. It is an average of $30 million a year. It makes him the 8th highest paid, edge rusher. He's also kind of a linebacker as well. He has been had some injuries. He's had an Achilles, he's had an ACL, but he did play 17 games last year, was fully healthy, and he hasn't had a double-digit sack season. But when you look at the pressure rate and the pressures, he's in the top 5-10 in the league, and he's a 3-down edge rusher that can stop the run. So this is something that the Panthers desperately needed. People might say you overpaid a little bit, but when you're trying to steal him from a team like Philly who's trying to sign him, you got to pay a little extra to get the guy you want. I have no issue with it, and edge was their biggest need, and they answered it. And I think a combo of him, Derek Brown, and Nick Swartzen is a damn good combo on the defensive line.
I'm right there with Dustin.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. Hey, what about Tyler Linderman going to the Raiders from the Ravens? So look, not often do you see a center get a deal like the one he got, $81 million, becoming the highest paid interior lineman. This is good. So if you don't think they're going to draft Mendoza, you got another thing coming. You don't go and spend this kind of money on a center, and you're not going to take Mendoza with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's good to have for a young quarterback. You obviously need somebody. Setting the market at $27 million a year for a center is big time money. And I see we lost Gene. I'm sure he'll hop back in here. But Jacob, I like the signing because, again, if you're going to draft a young quarterback, you got to have somebody right there to be kind of the leader under center. That's a lot of money for a center, though, $27 million a year. But the Raiders wanted to make sure if they're going to get a young quarterback, they shore up this offensive line.
Well, they had the money, right? That was the thing. They had the money.
They had the money.
Yeah, they had the money. Well, Linderbaum's a top 3, top 4 center in the league. He was the number 1 free agent offensive lineman. And this really was like this cemented the Fernando Mendoza pick, right? Like this set that in stone. That's what's happening, unless they go another route with quarterback, which would be mind-boggling. But it's Fernando Mendoza, and this was the Raiders really doing their due diligence, going out and getting the best possible offensive lineman who hands the ball to the quarterback for their new quarterback. This is going to be a pairing that they might re-sign him. And the cool thing about this contract, right, is because it's 3 years. Linderbaum will be 28 years old when this contract expires. He'll be able to either test free agency and get paid again as a young man, or re-sign with the Raiders via extension, and they'll be able to keep him through the prime years of his career. So it was a good signing. It's a lot of money, but it was a very, very good signing. And before I'm just gonna say if he signed for 27, I see Gene hopping back in. If he's signing for $27 million a year, he better not be a top 3 or 4 center. He better be the top center in the league, because I'm gonna tell you right now, he signed for $27 million a year, and the second highest paid guy is Creed Humphrey in Kansas City at $18 million a year. He just didn't say, "Hey, guys reset the market all the time, even if you're not the best at your position." But he didn't say, "Hey, I'm getting $19 million." He went from 18 to 27. You better be the top center in the NFL.
That's a lot.
You have to. You have to for the Raiders.
He better be. And look, and even with spending that kind of money, we talked about this at the beginning of the show, guys, that the Raiders still have a lot of money and cap space, and with these draft picks. And I know Dustin, for some of you guys who just joining the show later, we talked about the match.
We got Gene breaking up a little bit on mine.
He's going to hang around a little bit, perhaps maybe he gets a little bit healthier, and we should see. But the Raiders are still in the driver's seat when it comes to cap money, and we'll see what happens with that.
I see Wheels mentioning, and I know we got some lag here with Gene, so apologies, but I see Wheels mentioning in the comments, what are our thoughts about Hendrickson going to the Ravens? If you go back, I know you hopped in, Wheels, appreciate you in the show. Listen to the first few minutes. We hit on that hard about how we felt about the Baltimore Ravens and the Max Crosby situation.
Yeah. Sorry about the delay, guys. Look, when you got the hotel Wi-Fi,
I mean, Gene's always jet set.
We're at the mercy of that. All right, guys. So I think we should wrap it up. We're going to come back and do our draft show, and that'll be scheduled here for the next couple of weeks. I know, Jacob, you did want to put some grades on this free agency, so would love to hear your thoughts on who you thought did well and who didn't do well.
Put a winner and a loser, Jacob, and also put maybe a guy you thought hasn't signed that yet that you'll be looking forward to before we have our next show.
So it's going to sound real homery, right?
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
I have a tie for the winner of free agency, and neither of those teams are my own. I have Carolina and Pittsburgh as the clear winners. I think Jalen Phillips, and a guy we didn't talk about, we didn't break into defense all that much, but Devin Lloyd out of Jacksonville, best coverage linebacker in the NFL the last year and a half. Absolute dog, goes to Carolina on a good deal. You know, they got Devin Lloyd for 3 years, $45 million, and then you have the Jalen Phillips deal, which Carolina bolstered their defense as a precursor, right? Preseason. I have Carolina representing the NFC in the Super Bowl right now.
Super Bowl? I thought you were going to say division.
Oh, wow.
Hell no. I'm taking Carolina all the way to the end with the defensive upgrade. And then the split on that, right, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought Michael Pittman was the best receiver in Indianapolis. I don't care how good Alec Pierce is. I think Michael Pittman was the best receiver there. And then I think Rico Dowdle is the best 3-down back that Pittsburgh has had since Le'Veon Bell. So I'm taking Pittsburgh and Carolina as my winners.
Hold on, wait, real quick. I like the moves that Pittsburgh has made. Don't get me wrong. Who the hell is going to play quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Aaron Rodgers, baby, the best quarterback in Pittsburgh Steelers history.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, I love what they're doing. Hey, and Gene, you can say this.
That's for another show.
Okay.
That's
all right.
I'm
just saying. I know he might come back, but who, we love what they're doing. Show. They don't have a quarterback.
Started on Aaron Rodgers.
So listen, go ahead, Jake. Finish off.
My loser for the free agency, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Todd Bowles is the problem. They should have fired Todd Bowles. I don't think that he's going to win a Super Bowl again. And the entire defense defected, along with Mike Evans and their third string running back, who was very good, and I can't remember his name. And that's an L on my part. But I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were arguably the largest loser in free agency. So.
Yeah, Gene, go ahead and give me your winner and loser real quick.
Guys. Oh, wow. Look, I'm still going to go with the Raiders right now because, look, to have that kind of money and are going to win this until they
we can't let Gene go out partying anymore.
Gene is taking the Raiders to be the winner.
And I think the 49ers. I think the 49ers also getting Mike Evans is huge. And of course, I think Pittsburgh did well getting the two guys. I didn't see that coming at all.
Nice.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
so we're
and what I'll say real quick,
because we got a real
quick. I know it's a lag. Gene's lagging. We're on a delay, but real quick, my winners and losers. One team we didn't call out. I know I'm messing Gene up. One team we didn't call out. I kind of like what the New York Giants did. I like what they did with Likely. I like what they did with some other guys. So they've made some good moves. And the loser to me, I think, would probably be the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not really sure what they're doing, the direction they're heading. They got to figure something out.
They did get Tyler Algier from Atlanta. That was one back I didn't mention. He's on my top 10 most impactful signings. I think that is going to be a
Who's
good
playing quarterback.
Back. Who cares? I can't name their backup quarterback. I'd answer that question real snappy, but they have a better run game with James Conner and Tyler Algier.
All right, let's close it out and let Gene go party in Dallas.
Let's go ahead and do it, man. We'll see you guys back on here for the NFL draft. So stay tuned. We'll put that out there. Hey, guys, have a good night. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. All right.